This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
A new era dawns for women's football in Africa as the CAF Women's Champions League swings into action this weekend. Going from its creation in June last year to the start of the first edition of the competition now, women's club football aims to emerge from the shadow of the men's game. On Sports Scene tonight, we delve into the first edition of the CAF Women's Champions League. Hello, welcome to your weekly sports program that brings you all the sporting news and reviews from an African perspective. We will highlight the thrill of victory while also showing you the agony of defeat. I'm Richard Nta, Nairobi. This is Sports Scene. Put on your seatbelts, buckle up, get ready. Let's get started. Here's what's coming up in the show. The Queen's Baton Relay inspires young Ugandan sports enthusiasts ahead of next year's Commonwealth Games. And we meet the South African drifting champion, Jim McFarland, aiming to leave his mark on the world stage. Welcome in. Just like that, Sports Scene is on the air. We'll get to those other stories in just a moment, but first, let's start with women's football. From November 5th to the 19th, all those interested in women's football will switch their focus to Egypt. 8 teams have become the first to form Africa's Women Champions League. The birth of the competition promises a brighter future and a stronger career for girls on the continent who love football. More with CGTN's Adel Al-Mahroui. Let's take a listen.
The Egyptian capital, Cairo, witnessed football history. Here on June 30th Stadium, CAF gave birth to the first Women's Champions League on Friday. 8 teams qualified from 6 CAF football regions. All are champions of their domestic football league, who are excited to be part of this game changer for the sport.
My compliments go to FIFA and CAF for introducing Women's Championship. And that is a way to let women's football grow in Africa. And you can see that maiden edition, and then the enthusiasm behind it is also very good. So for me, I would say that it is the right step in the right direction.
Unlike the Men's Champions League, Africa's ladies will be playing back-to-back matches for the next 2 weeks until the first African women champions arise. The 8 teams are divided into 2 groups. Winners of each group will advance directly to the semi-finals.
This is the first time that CAF organizes this Champions League. Moving from domestic games to an inter-club championship, the level of play is average. There are only few teams that can elevate the tournament. To me, the level will rise. It's no different from the Women African Cup of Nations.
We can't expect it like the way the men play. For women football, it's a gradual process. And now that we have moved into the maiden edition, I know that come next edition, we'll see better football in Africa, so far as the championship is concerned.
Nothing glamorous was set up for the competition. No opening ceremony, no flags or banners decorated the exterior of stadiums, and no fans joined.
It's a humble beginning for a great milestone for women football in Africa. These 8 teams are not just playing for the continent's first Champions League title, but they will be for the next 2 weeks inspiring thousands of African girls whose dreams and aspirations for a professional career in the sport has just got bigger with this competition. Adel Al-Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Following the start of the first ever CAF Women's Champions League, the 8 teams from across the continent will face each other on Friday and Saturday. Egyptian giants Wadi Degla collected their first 3 points of the group stage, beating Mali's AS Monday 3-1 at 30 June Stadium to go top of Group A. Elsewhere, Hasaka's Ladies of Ghana also collected their first 3 points of the group stage, beating Equatorial Guinea's Malabo Kings 3-1 to join Wadi Degla on top of Group A. Now in the South, against East Match, Mamelodi Sundowns bagged their first 3 points after a 1-0 victory over Kenya's Vihiga Queens. Well, joining me now for more on the ongoing tournament is sports analyst Deji Omotayimbo. He joins us live from Lagos. Deji, welcome to Sports Scene. Thank you for joining us. Deji, the CAF Women's Champions League tournament is a new addition to the continental football roster, having only been approved in just June last year. What can we expect from this inaugural edition going forward?
Well, we expect that the competition will be exciting. Women's football is growing in leaps and bounds over the past couple of years. The last Women's World Cup in France was very, very exciting indeed. And you expect that the competition is being held in one location because maybe the women's game is not developed across Africa as it should be. But you also expect that this will lead to more development in terms of infrastructure, in terms of development of the women's game. So it can only be good going forward for women's football in Africa. I think it's a good initiative and it's a good start, and let's hope it continues in that vein.
All right, Deji, with all that good stuff being said, what teams should we keep an eye on to possibly progress to the semifinals of the competition?
Well, from Group A, we can see that the home team, the Egyptian team, has won their game, and Hasaka's Ladies of Ghana have also won their game. So both of them are in the driving seat. Mamelodi have won their game earlier today. The Nigerian team, you expect that they're one of the favorites, but as at halftime they were losing, I think, against FAR Rabat of Morocco. But you look at the home team, Wadi Megla, Hasaka's Ladies, who won the WAFU qualifying in West Africa. The Nigerian team has won, Rivers Eagles have won 15 trophies in the last 10, 11 years, so on the home front. So they have a lot of experience. And, you know, South Africa coming in leaps and bounds, Mamelodi would be there or thereabouts. So I expect that between Hasakas, between Wadi Megla, Rivers Angels, and Mamelodi, one of those four are the ones I think should get to the semifinals. FAR Rabat will pull some stops, but I expect those four I mentioned to be the four teams in the semifinals.
Fascinating insights there, Deji. I have one more question for you, if you would indulge me. Now, what needs to be done to raise the profile of women's club football in Africa to a standard equal to or even better than the men's game?
Well, definitely the media will have to play a huge role in that, in terms of broadcast of the matches. You can see what the English media is doing with the women's soccer league, the WSL in England. They are giving it airtime, they are giving it prime time plays. That's what we need to do. We need to put it on the front burner. We need to let the whole continent see these games. We need to let it be encouraging for young girls to take up soccer. The media will play a huge role, and I think proper broadcast of those matches will also play a huge role in lifting the profile of the women's game in Africa. The Champions League for women should be able to do that. Hopefully, in the next few years, this will grow into a very, very huge competition. That's what I expect.
All right, well said, Deji, well said. We could go on and on, but we must stop right here. Deji, thank you for your insights and analysis. Now, let's take a look at the upcoming fixtures in the competition starting on Monday. Kenya's rugby men's sevens team emerged victorious at the 23rd edition of the Safari Sevens held in Nairobi. The winning outing for the Shujaa team comes just a couple of weeks before the new World Rugby Sevens series kicks off. CGTN's Mohammed Abubakar reports.
After a long wait, the much-anticipated Safari Rugby Sevens returned to Nairobi's Nyayo National Stadium for the 2021 edition, boosted by the return of fans to the venue. Kenya's Sevens national team Shujaa emerged champions following a hard-fought 12-5 win against Germany in the final. The two-day tournament couldn't have come at a better time for the Shujaz, who need more game time as they look to pick up from the impressive third-place finish in the 2021 World Rugby Sevens Series.
It's been a long training year with very few games. So what is important at the end of the day is game. So for us, we were quite happy to have this tournament. And of course, we have to thank those people who made it possible, being the government and KRU, and also the fans who came.
The event was also a chance for the fans to show their support in person after the long wait away from the sport due to the coronavirus pandemic. It comes after Kenya lifted the ban on fans in stadiums, which was widely welcomed.
It feels awesome. The experience is good. We feel alive once again. It's been a long time on the television, streaming all these games. But now we feel very nice to be in the field, to see our players, to see all the fans, catching up once again after all this time. It's quite awesome.
Kenya Morans, the national team's development squad, finished third in the competition. A result which excites head coach Innocent Simiu, who hopes to have a strong squad for a busy season ahead.
Yeah, we're working on the depth. That is where we are at, actually, because we have a long season ahead. And you could see with just 2 tournaments, we got 5 key players out. So we are really interested in building more depth in the team. And we are quite happy with what we have seen. Selection now will be difficult, but we will manage to get the players who represent the team.
Shujaz season begins at the Dubai Sevens on the 26th of November. Mohamed Abubakar, CGTN.
All right, your weekly dose of sports scene continues with more fascinating, intriguing, and tantalizing stories. Here's what's ahead. The Queen's Baton Relay inspires young Ugandan sports enthusiasts ahead of next year's Commonwealth Games.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis,
Nigeria,
Juba, Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Kanata, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival, and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Welcome back to the sports scene. Thanks for sticking with us. The Commonwealth Games.
It has brought so much inspiration.
Because I do foot and netball.
I play football and netball, but I'm hopeful that one day I can go to the games and represent my country.
From one's desires to another's reality, Shida Lenny has been to the Commonwealth Games before. Being part of the baton relay this year is an enthusing experience.
It feels so nice, and receiving the baton and making a lap with it, it feels like the games have arrived. So it is waking us up that we need to work hard.
The baton relay is a tradition that celebrates and connects communities from across the Commonwealth during the build-up to the Games. For Uganda, there is more to look forward to from the relay and participating.
We look forward to building on this, and preparations already are afoot, and the baton being in Uganda for these 2 days is part of drumming up the whole excitement and awareness both of the Commonwealth and the games that are coming up next year.
The Commonwealth Games will start in July 2022 and end in August. Before then, the baton will have visited 72 nations and territories in 269 days. The baton's next stop is Rwanda. It will then move across 11 other African countries. Its global journey will conclude at the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony in Birmingham next year. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
A number of elite athletes from Africa will compete at the 50th running of the New York City Marathon on Sunday. The elite entry in the women's race has attracted a stellar field led by Kenya's Olympic marathon champion Perez Jepchirchir and U.S. Olympic bronze medalist Molly Seidel and Namibia's 2019 World Championship bronze medalist Halelia Johannes, as well as Tokyo Marathon champion Ruti Aga of Ethiopia. Now, there will also be a number of debutantes in the race, including Kenya's Viola Cheptu, who has now transitioned to the road races from the track. The 32-year-old is the younger sister of Bernard Lagat, a former Kenyan athlete who now represents the United States and will be among the commentators of the marathon on television.
Be a really packed field. I know a lot of big athletes are going to be there. A lot of Ethiopians. Paris is going to be there. There will be Sally Kipyego, they just came from the Olympics. There's Molly from the US. So it's a big field, and it's going to be, I mean, all the top 10 women there on the list are going to be really, really good. So I'm just going to do my best.
And Ethiopia's major annual race, the Great Ethiopian Run International, has been postponed. The 10-kilometer event that attracts thousands of participants has been called off owing to the declaration of a state of emergency by the government. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government says the emergency period is designed to avoid threats from the Tigray People's Liberation Front rebel group and its affiliates. Coletta Wanjohi reports from Addis Ababa.
12,500 people took part in the Ethiopia Great Run held early this year after the organizers failed to host one in 2020 because of COVID-19 pandemic. In 2019, the event attracted over 45,000 participants. Registration for this year's race, slated for 14th of November, had already begun. But the state of emergency has forced them to postpone the event. The government is keen to prioritize security in Addis Ababa after the Tigray People's Liberation Front and the Oromo Liberation Army threatened to enter the capital city and oust the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Both have been designated as terrorist groups by the parliament. Two-time 1,500 meters Olympic champion from Kenya, Faith Chepngetich, was expected to grace the 10-kilometer event. The organizers of the initiative, run by legendary athlete Haile Gabriel Selassie, says they are monitoring the situation and will advise in the next few weeks on a possible new date. Coletta Wanjohi, CGTN, Addis Ababa.
Esperance Sportive de Tunis secured their second win in a row at the Men's Club African Volleyball Championships in April. However, the Blood and Gold team has been excluded from the 2022 FIVB Volleyball Men's World Championship. Esperance and the Tunisian Volleyball Federation have denounced this exclusion as a form of racism. Adin Chouachi has more.
Esperance Sportive de Tunis has decried the decision of the International Volleyball Federation. The Blood and Gold team has also rejected all forms of exclusion against the winners of the African Volleyball Championship.
The players are demoralized and disappointed. We were certain of playing at the Volleyball Men's World Championship. Volleyball's international governing bodies have no credibility. What's the objective behind playing any future tournaments? We're losing money without any motivation. The International Volleyball Federation wants to divide the globe. It is global segregation. It's the Volleyball Federation of the 4 continents and not the world.
Esperance staff and technical team has said that the evaluation of African clubs by the International Federation is not objective. AST's assistant coach accused global decision makers in volleyball of apartheid in sports.
Africa's representative must take part in the World Tournament because Esperance is technically among the best teams. We believe in equity in sports. We are experiencing a form of sports apartheid. It's illegal and goes against the noble values and the spirit of sports.
9 players from Esperance took part in the 2020 Summer Olympics. Tunisia, winner of the African Volleyball Nations Championship in Kigali in September, rose to 14th place in the ranking of the International Federation of Volleyball and retained its leadership in Africa and the Arab world.
We are shocked for being excluded from the World Championship. EST is proud of representing Africa. The volleyball level in this continent is not as weak as the International Federation claims. Esperance can play in any international tournament and it deserves an official invitation. From now on, it's useless to win continental titles if we don't play for the world title.
This discrimination against African teams is unfortunate and unacceptable. Esperance recruited new players, won the African title and showed a good performance at the Olympic Games. Nothing can explain this racism.
According to the International Volleyball Federation, the 2022 FIVB Volleyball Men's World Championship featured 24 teams. 2 places were allocated to the host Russia and the current title holder Poland. 10 places are allocated to the top 2 teams from each of the 2021 Continental Championships that have not yet qualified as host or title holder. Remaining places are allocated to the top 12 teams in the FIVB World Ranking that have not yet qualified through the first 3 criteria. The Tunisian Volleyball Federation has announced its support to Espérance Sportive de Tunis following its exclusion from the 2022 World Championship. Tunisian fans say Africa deserves to have a representative in this international tournament. Abdel Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Well, the action continues on Sports Scene. Lots more still to come, including we strap in and join South African drifting champion Jim McFarlane as he aims to leave his mark on the world stage. Welcome back to Sports Scene. South African drifting champion Jim McFarlane is headed to Egypt to take on the best the world has to offer in the Red Bull Car Park Drift World Finals. The Johannesburg businessman is eager to show his worth and prove he is one of the best on the continent. CGTN's CS Duplessis has more.
Drifting is a sport that turns heads. The sound of a V8 engine rumbling and the screeching of tires tends to draw a crowd wherever it takes place.
It ticks all the senses. You hear it, you see it, you taste it in the air, you smell the ethanol and the burning rubber. It literally ticks all the senses, which is one motorsport that happens to do that. So I think it's addictive.
Despite its appearance, drifting is indeed a safe sport that is well regulated. Every precaution is taken to ensure the driver's safety, allowing them to focus on what matters most, and that is controlling a machine with 600 horsepower, driving it sideways around a skid pan like this while making sure that it doesn't spin out of control. There's no other adrenaline rush quite like it.
The thrill is exactly that. You are sliding a car. You're controlling the uncontrollable spin. You're on the edge of spinning out or hitting a wall, and you are controlling that slide from point A to point B, C, D, and so on. What's not to love about putting a car sideways?
The South African champion saw off the top drifters in the Rainbow Nation at the Red Bull Car Park Drift in Durban and now heads north for the World Finals, where he has his work cut out in more ways than one.
The unfortunate thing about going to Egypt is that I'm not going to be taking my car. Red Bull have hired me a car there, but unfortunately it's a left-hand drive. So I'm going to be jumping in a different chassis, different engine, different setup, and competing against the world's best in a different car.
The former South African champion water skier is expecting a similar course layout in Egypt for the grand finale and can't wait to showcase his skills.
I think they're going to tweak certain sections to make it more difficult for world finals. But I think it's going to have the same things, the spirals, the barrels, the paddles, and all the different boxes. And I think it's just going to make it very much more technical. And I think it's going to be challenging. You know, it's the winner of every single country around the world. And this is the right way to have a world championship.
McFarlane has been a dominant force on the local drifting scene, but the World Finals is a very different challenge, not only because he moves from a right-hand drive car to a left-hand drive car, but also because he will only get 15 minutes to familiarize himself with his new vehicle. He will need to adapt quickly if he is to prove that he belongs amongst the best drifters in the world. CS Duplessis, CGTN, Delmas, South Africa.
Nigeria held this year's international polo tournament in the country's northwestern Kaduna state. Professionals from Argentina, Europe, and South Africa joined top Nigerian polo patrons and players as they jostled for top honors in the 2021 edition. The prize, the West African's oldest, most revered polo trophy, the 400-year-old Georgian Cup. CGTN's Kelechi Mekalam brings us the report in the victory and defeat.
The Rubicons returning to their winning ways to lift the Georgian Cup, their third victory in the prestigious polo tournaments. They beat defending champions El Amin 9-6 in a keenly contested game.
It feels great. I think we started a very hard game in the beginning, but then we dominate until the last chunker. We got a good difference and we were comfortable in the field to finish the game by many goals.
A tough nut to crack for opponents El Amin in the 6-chucker thriller. That is despite holding 15 Georgian Cup titles.
I think it was a tough game. At the beginning we were controlling the game, the first 3 checkers, but we missed many goals. And then the second half of the game, they improved their play and they start scoring the goals.
I think it's part of the game. We've been winning for quite some time. And, you know, you win some, you lose some, but we give it 100% our best effort.
For organizers, it remains one of the most competitive games in the history of the Georgian Cup.
I don't think in the history of Georgian you've had a time when every team both won and lost. You normally have some dominance on the part of one team or the other, but this year the competition was very stiff.
The Georgian Cup is one of the most prestigious in Nigeria and most contested for, running for 102 years. Kelechi Mekalam, CGTN Kaduna, Nigeria.
Well, that's it for this week's edition of Sports Scene. Remember, you can send us your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. I'm Richard Nta, and this is Sports Scene. We'll see you again same time next week. Till then, take care.